Yes, behind you, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now that you've answered several questions on trade, I'd like to turn to
Don't
Judge
do that.
Kavanaugh.
Do you have?
Mr. President,
excuse me. Do you have a question on trade? We'll do one or two more questions on trade.
You answered several questions
okay,
on
don't
trade.
do that. That's not nice.
Mr. President,
and besides
you said
that, somebody is before you. Excuse me. Don't do that. Do you have a question on trade?
You answered several
Do
questions
you have
on
a
trade.
question on trade?
My question is on Judge
Okay,
Kavanaugh.
please, yes,
You said
please.
the FBI should interview whoever that they believe is appropriate. Does that include Julie Swetnick, the third accuser? And can you promise to release the full findings
give me
from
your
the
question,
FBI
please.
after they finish their report, Mr. President?
Give me your question, please. Give her the mic, please.
Thank you very much. Was border security or funding
Yes.
for the wall discussed during the negotiation, and who will pay for the wall?
Yes, the wall. We're getting 1.6 billion for the wall this year. We got 1.6. We have about 3.2 billion in the wall. We're doing a lot of work. People don't realize. I don't really want to talk about it because I can build it quickly at one time, which is what I want. But we've been building it over the last year and a half with 3.2 billion, 1.6, and we now have another 1.6. And I've got a big decision to make after the election as to whether or not we go for it. Because you know what? Border security to the people of our country, very important. The wall is a big factor in border security. And I really believe that the people of our country, they want the wall and they want border security. They don't want open borders like the Democrats want to have. They don't want crime pouring into our country. They don't want MS-13 pouring into our country. They don't want that. And I really think I have a very big decision to make sometime right after the election, very quickly, because you know what comes due after the election. Do I want to do it before the election? Personally, yes, but I don't want to do that for a different reason, because I have some very fine people that are running in close races, and it may affect them and it may not. It may be good for them. I happen to think it would be good for them. But border security for our country, our people want security. The women of our country, they want security. They don't want to have thousands of people pouring across the border. And I'll tell you what, they want to have ICE, because ICE walks into MS-13 and these gangs, and they treat them like it's just another day in the office. They're rough and they're tough and they love our country. And I'm treating ICE good and I'm treating our law enforcement good. And the Democrats don't want to take care of our law enforcement. And the Democrats don't want to take care of our military. So we are going to have a decision to make sometime right after, very close to after the election is over, and that will be on border security and the wall, but border security. The wall's a big factor. Okay, do you want to do some questions?
But was that part of the conversation and the negotiation that just
Yes,
took
it
place?
was. Yeah, we talked about it. With Mexico, we talked about it. It was a big part, and certain things and certain understandings are had. At the same time, we don't want to mix it up too much. This is a very big deal and a very good deal for everybody. But border security and security generally is a very big factor. We also have drugs. Sometimes, and some people would say it's a very similar thing. But we talked about drugs with Mexico. That's a very, very big factor. Very, very big. We have a lot of good understandings, and we'll be discussing that with them.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, but it was a factor, absolutely, in the deal. Okay, let's go. Come on. You want to, I guess, get off trade. I don't know. People are falling asleep with trade. I think it's, to me, it's the most exciting thing you can talk about, right, Joni? Right? All right, let's go. Come on.
Thank you, Mr. President. In a tweet this weekend, you said it's incorrect to say that you're limiting the scope of the FBI investigation into Judge Kavanaugh. But your own statement on Friday made it very clear. You said this investigation must be limited in scope. So which is it?
Well, no, I didn't say anything on Friday. What I said is, let the Senate decide whatever they want to do is okay with me. And also the FBI. I think the FBI should do what they have to do to get to the answer. At the same time, just so we all understand, this is our 7th investigation of a man who has really, you know, you look at his life until this happened, what a change he's gone through, what his family's gone through, the trauma for a man that's never had any accusation, he's never had a bad statement about him. He's led, I mean, I think he was #1 in his class at Yale. He was #1 in his law school at Yale. And then what he's gone through over the last 3 weeks is incredible. So I want the FBI, this is now their 7th investigation. So it's not like they're, you know, just starting. I want them to do a very comprehensive investigation, whatever that means according to the senators and the Republicans and the Republican majority. I want them to do that. I want it to be comprehensive. I actually think it's a good thing for Judge Kavanaugh. I think it's actually a good thing, not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. Now, with that being said, I'd like it to go quickly. And the reason I'd like it to go quickly, very simple. It's so simple. Because it's unfair to him at this point. What his wife is going through, what his beautiful children are going through is not describable. It's not describable. It's not fair. I think it's fair to do it to me because, you know, I've been going from day one. I've been from long before I got to office. You've been doing it. It's almost became, I think for me, it's like a part of my job description to handle this crap. But as far as this is a man that this is not from his world. And you know what? If they're not going to want him, and I think that would be a shame, I'm with him all the way. I mean, a charge made or said to have occurred 36 years ago, and nothing happened since. And look, I feel badly for all parties. I feel badly for everybody. I feel badly for our country. This is so bad for our country. But I will tell you, I watched those senators on the Democrat side, and I thought it was a disgrace, and partially because I know them. I know them too well. And you know what? They are not angels.
Are you saying your White House has put no limitations on?
No, my White
who
House is
the
doing
FBI
whatever
can
the
speak
senators
to,
want. No. You
who
don't
they should
understand.
interview?
You don't understand what I'm saying. You do understand. You just don't want to report it that way. Just so you understand, my White House will do whatever the senators want. I'm open to whatever they want. The one thing I want is speed. Now, they started, I believe, on Friday. Could have even been a little bit earlier than that, but they started. They have worked round the clock on Saturday, Sunday. They're working right now. I mean, they're covering a lot of territory. This is the 7th investigation of Judge Kavanaugh, number 7. This isn't number 1. They started on Friday. They worked all weekend. They've gone late into the evenings. The FBI is really working hard, and they're putting in a lot of hours. So hopefully they can come up with what everybody's looking for. But no, I'm guided by the Senate. I want to make the Senate happy because ultimately they're making the judgment. I'm not making the judgment. I've already made my judgment. The Senate is making a judgment on Judge Kavanaugh. That's a very important thing to do. Yes, go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
Just for clarity, so that it's clear. In fact, it's up to you to instruct the FBI what to do.
It is up to me. It is up to me. But I'm instructing them as per what I feel the Senate wants. The Senate's making this decision, and I'm instructing them as per what the Senate is looking for.
Just for clarity, will you instruct the White House counsel, Don McGahn, to give the FBI free rein to interview whomever they feel is necessary?
Well, I have so instructed him, and I did it again over the weekend because I see the press was, I don't want to use the word in this case, misleading. It's a much more complex subject than anybody would understand and than most people understand. But essentially, I have done that. But I did also say within the bounds of what the Senate wants. We don't want to go on to use an expression often used by me, we don't want to go on a witch hunt, do we?
So just to be clear, should the FBI interview all 3 of Brett Kavanaugh's accusers?
It wouldn't bother me at all. Now, it depends. I don't know all 3 of the accusers.
All 3.
Certainly, I imagine they're going to interview 2. The third one I don't know much about, but it wouldn't bother me at all. I mean, I've been heard that the third one has, I have no idea if this is true, has very little credibility. If there is any credibility, interview the third one. But I want it to be done quickly because it's unfair to the family and to the judge. It's unfair. It's so unfair to his kids and his wife.
How about for the accusers? Has this process been fair to them?
Well, certainly we gave the doctor a tremendous time, which is great. She spoke well, but there are some questions that haven't been answered, like what year was it? What day was it? Where was it? Do you know the location? Do you know the house? A lot of different things. People are saying, well, what's going on? With all of that, you cannot say that we've done anything but be respectful. And I do, and I respect her position very much. I respect her position very much. I believe, and again, this is Republican senators and this is the Senate, I believe they've been very respectful to the doctor, Dr. Ford.
Isn't that why the FBI should interview all of them to exonerate Brett Kavanaugh?
Yeah,
in your opinion?
Peter, I think the FBI should interview anybody that they want within reason. But you have to say within reason. They should interview, but they should also be guided, and I'm being guided, by what the senators are looking for, because they have to make the choice. Go ahead, now you can go.
Should Brett Kavanaugh be interviewed by the FBI?
I think so. I think it's fine if they do. I don't know. That's up to them. I think that he spoke very conclusively and very well. I think it's been a very rough period of time. I guarantee he's never had a period of time like this. When he was chosen, everybody said, oh, this is going to go so quickly. Look, people thought 10 years ago that Brett Kavanaugh was going to be a Supreme Court justice because of his intellect, because of his career, because of the fact that there are no games. Now they talk about alcohol. They talk about all of the things that you hear. And frankly, you take a look at, they're bringing up subjects. We would know about this over the last 20 years, 30 years of his career. What happened? They're going back to high school, and they're saying he drank a lot one evening in high school. I tell you what, I happen to know some United States senators. One who is on the other side, who's pretty aggressive. I've seen that person in very bad situations. Okay? I've seen that person in very, very bad situations, somewhat compromising. And I think it's very unfair to bring up things like this. However, whatever the senators want is okay with me. They're going to be making a decision. Whatever they want is okay with me. Go ahead. That's enough, Peter. Go, please. Say it.
You said this crap when you referred to I've been dealing with this crap for years. What did you mean?
Oh, I think the press has treated me unbelievably unfairly. In fact, when I won, I said, the good thing is now the press finally gets it. Now they'll finally treat me fairly. They got worse. They're worse now than ever. They're loco, but that's okay. I put up with it. Go ahead.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
use that
President.
word because of the fact that we made a deal with Mexico. So, no, please sit down.
Thank you,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
President, for coming back to
Oh,
me.
you're going to be next. You're going to be next.
I didn't know. I thought you were talking.
Go ahead.
I have two questions about Judge Kavanaugh. First, there are now concerns that he may have lied or mischaracterized his drinking while testifying. If they find that he did, do you think that bars him from being your Supreme Court nominee?
Well, I watched him. I was surprised at how vocal he was about the fact that he likes beer, and he's had a little bit of difficulty. I mean, he talked about things that happened when he drank. I mean, this is not a man that said that alcohol was that he was perfect with respect to alcohol. No, I thought he was actually, going back so many years, I thought he was excellent. The interesting thing is, though, nobody asked him about what's happened in the last 25, 30 years during his professional career, because there were no bad reports. I mean, there are bad reports on everybody in here. Most of the people sitting down there are bad, except for Mike Pence, by the way. And if we find one on him, then I think that'll be the greatest shock of all time. No, there are bad reports on everybody. I'm looking at people. I'm sort of, look at some of these people asking the questions, okay? Look at Blumenthal. He lied about Vietnam. He didn't just say, hey, I went to Vietnam. No. For 15 years, he said he was a war hero. He fought in Da Nang province. We call him Da Nang Richard. Da Nang, that's his nickname, Da Nang. He never went to Vietnam. And he's up there saying, We need honesty and we need integrity. This guy lied when he was the Attorney General of Connecticut. He lied. I don't mean a little bit. And then when he got out, he actually dropped out of the race and he won anyway because Democrats always win in Connecticut. He won very close, probably the closest ever. But here's a guy lied and now he's up there talking like he's holier than thou. You know what? Take a look at his record. And when he got out and when he apologized, he was crying. The tears were all over the place. And now he acts like, how dare you? Take a look at the judge who has led an exemplary life. I mean, you're going back to high school because he had beer? I think the judge has been pretty amazing about describing his situation with alcohol and with beer. I mean, take a look at Cory Booker. He ran Newark, New Jersey into the ground. He was a horrible mayor. And he made statements that when he was in high school or college, what he was doing, he actually made the statements. And now he's talking about Judge Kavanaugh. And I could go through a whole list of them, okay? Look at Dianne Feinstein. You're telling me about time. Dianne Feinstein knew about this 2 months earlier. If she wanted a really thorough investigation, we had all the time in the world. She didn't have to wait till after the hearing was closed, essentially. She should have said, listen, I have a problem. I have this report. I'd like the FBI to look at it while we're doing the hearings. We had 2 months. No, she didn't do that. She waited till we were closed. And then she probably leaked it, but, you know, who am I to say? But she probably leaked it based on her very bad body language the other day. But more importantly, in a sense, for her to have waited that period of time, and now for you Democrats, and I guess I'm including you too, the media, right? I consider you a part of the Democrat Party. But for you, for the Democrats, to be talking about we want more time for the FBI. If you wanted more time for the FBI, why didn't Dianne Feinstein bring this up? Now, you know that she showed this to other Democrats. She's not the only one. She showed this to other Democrats. There were more than just her that knew about this big confidential thing. It was confidential until the hearing was over. After the hearing was over, they went public. Why didn't they do it during the hearing? And we could have had all the time in the world. You know why? Because they're dishonest people. Okay, yes, please.
You didn't answer my question, Mr. President.
Go ahead,
You
please.
didn't answer my question, Mr. President. So if he did lie about his drinking, does that mean you'll pull his
I don't think he
nomination?
did.
Okay.
Look, here's what. I'm just saying, I'm not a drinker. I can honestly say I never had a beer in my life, okay?
Right.
It's one of my only good traits. I don't drink. Whenever they're looking for something good, I say, never had a glass of alcohol. I've never had alcohol. I've just, you know, for whatever reason. Can you imagine if I had, what a mess I'd be? I'd be the world's worst. But I never drank. Okay? But I can tell you, I watched that hearing. And I watched a man saying that he did have difficulty as a young man with drink. The one question I didn't ask is, how about the last 20 years? Have you had difficulty the last 20 years? Because nobody said anything bad about him in many, many years. They go back to high school. You know, I graduated from high school, and while I did not drink, I saw a lot of people drinking. They'd drink beer, and they'd go crazy, and, you know, they were in high school. They were 16, 17 years old, and I saw a lot of it. Does that mean that they can't do something that they want to do with their life? So it's a very tough thing. I really believe that he was very strong on the fact that he drank a lot, and so I don't know where there'd be big discrepancy.
Okay, so,
yes, go ahead,
so
please.
Just to wrap
please.
up, can you promise
You know
to
what? You've
release
really
the
had
FBI's
enough.
report?
Hey, you've had enough. Go ahead, please.
Thanks, Mr. President. Judge Kavanaugh said he was being targeted by Democrats. Has he made the process overly political? And how can you assure the American people that he'll be able to deliver impartial decisions?
Well, you'll have to ask him that question, but I can tell you he's been treated horribly.
But
He's
how
a
does
good
that affect
man.
his
He's a good
judicial
man with a great
judgment?
family. I think he's been treated horribly. Lindsey Graham was, I thought, terrific the other day, and he brought up one point that is now being discussed by a lot of people, And that's who is going to want to run for office, be in office, take an appointment of not just Supreme Court, but, you know, many positions. I have right now 360 people that aren't being approved. They're very qualified. Nobody says they're not qualified, but Senator Schumer is not approving them because of resist and obstruct. It's much longer than ever in the history of our country, like I think double the time almost. It's far more people than anybody in the history of our country. Most of those people are routine approvals. These are people that gave up jobs. They gave up their life to come and serve our country. And Schumer and his group won't approve them. They're slow walking them. Everything is going to 30 hours, meaning they take them out 30 hours. Person that's going to be approved. It's a disgrace. So when the judge brings up whether it's politics or not, I don't know. You'd have to ask him, but I can say this. He's been treated really, really horribly.
But are you concerned
Please, go ahead,
it could
please.
color
I'm not
the
concerned, no.
opinion?
No, you know what I'm concerned? That we get great, great people on the U.S. Supreme Court. That's what I'm concerned. And I want to have great people. And I don't want to have to call people for any court and have them say, sir, it's such a great honor, but no thank you, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. That'd be a sad day for our country. And we're going to come close to that. Because I know people now that say, I don't know how he does it. I don't know why he would have taken it. Nobody knew a thing like this could have happened. When Justice Gorsuch got approved, it was rough, but it was nothing like what they're doing to this man and what they're coming up with. And in many cases, fabricating, because as you know, many stories were pulled back and certain stories were pulled back that were horrible. What they're doing to this man and his family is very, very sad and very bad for our nation. Yes?
Mr. President, you just said some senators are not angels, and you've seen some of them in
I would say some of them, yes.
compromising situations.
Yes.
Could you tell us who and exactly what situation
No,
you've seen them
I
in?
think I'll save it for a book like everybody else, and I'll write it. Okay? I'm not giving it to you. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Mr. President, if the FBI finds other witnesses who can corroborate the account of any of the accusers, would that be enough for you to...
I would certainly look at that. I'm open. I think he's a fine man. I think he's a great scholar. I so believed him when he said what he did. He focused on being number one at Yale, on being number one in high school, at being number one at law. He focused. I can so understand that. I mean, it's so important. The way he said that, it made an impact on me. He was so focused on being number one at Yale. And I believe he was number one at Yale. But I understood that very well.
And I wanted to ask about something else you brought up today, the Las Vegas shooting.
Yes.
There's some frustration that more hasn't been done in that past year. More hasn't been done about bump stocks. Are there some things you would like to see
you're
done?
wrong about
Yeah,
that.
go ahead.
So in order to terminate bump stocks, we have to go through a procedure. We are now at the final stages of that procedure. In fact, the lawyers were just telling me, and over the next couple of weeks, I'll be able to write it out. But you can't just write it out because rules and regulations in this country are really tough, even for something like that. So we're knocking out bump stocks. I've told the NRA, I've told it, bump stocks are gone. But to do it, you have to go to public hearings, which we've had. You have to go through all sorts of regulatory control systems. And we are in the final couple of weeks, and is our attorney around someplace, please? He said we're in the final 2 or 3 weeks, and I'll be able to write out bump stocks. But it's a process that takes, statutorily, it takes about a year to do it.
And any
to
other
do it properly.
Any other actions you're planning to help prevent?
Yeah, and we're
like
working
this?
also with Congress on both sides. We are working on a lot of different things. That was a horrible thing, but we're working on both sides of that question. And the bump stock is almost gone. But again, to do it so it's meaningful, the lawyer just said it. Yeah, we've gone through a whole procedure. If you look, in fact, you could call Derek, who you know very well, and he's gone through the full procedure. We've done it absolutely by the book. And in a very short period of time, bump stocks will be ruled out. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Yes. You've had one? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, please. Please, sit down.
Mr. President,
that's
a
true.
final trade question. Since steel and aluminum tariffs won't be coming down from Canada and Mexico, can you talk about whether there was discussion of ending those retaliatory tariffs against U.S.
Well, they're not
farmers and ranchers?
retaliatory. They're really trying to get some really bad things from happening. They were dumping in our country, and it was China and various others were dumping massive amounts of dead steel. It's called dead steel. It's also imperfect steel. Inside that steel was a lot of bad things that make for a weaker steel. So when we're building bridges and you have mud steel or you have other quantities of other material in that steel, that's a very bad thing. It's very unsafe. So it's not just economic. It's, you know, we have, the miners have been very thankful for what I've done. You saw that the other night in West Virginia. And we have metallurgic coal and other materials. We have mines that are opening up now to get that incredible stuff. This is used not for heating and cooling. This is used in electric. This is used to make steel. And those mines are now opening up, and we're making steel. And the price is going to end up being less because we don't have the shipping problems when you ship it from places so far away. You'll see. We'll have hundreds of new plants opened up in our country, and they'll be competing against each other. And outsiders won't be able to compete. Just so you understand what was going to happen, they were going to knock out every steel plant we had. And then they were going to double and triple the price, and we couldn't have done anything about it. It's a very dangerous thing. And we've employed a lot of people, and billions of dollars is now flowing into our treasury. Okay, yeah, in the back, please. Please.
Staying here on trade, the stock market has liked the announcement today. When we walked in here, the Dow was up 250 points or so. There are some who are worried that because of the threat of future tariffs, it could potentially stifle an economy that is hot, a stock market that is hot, but yet today you have once again said, hey, as it relates to China, more tariffs could be coming down the line. Are you worried that potentially you are somewhat suppressing this economy from running further?
No, I'm using them to negotiate, and hopefully we can make a great deal with China, a fair deal, and a reciprocal deal, but a great deal and a fair deal. We have a lot of catching up to do with China. You know, when they drain us for $500 billion a year, which is probably the real number, and that's not including the theft of intellectual property and other things. And a lot of people say, it's hard to value, but a lot of people say that could be $300 billion a year. That's a tremendous, you just can't let that happen. No, we're using tariffs very successfully to negotiate, and if we're unable to make a fair deal, then we'll use tariffs. But Mexico, and if you look at Mexico and Canada, they're way beyond that. We have a deal that really works. And the nice part about the deal we make with them is it's not a specific product, it's a product all across the line, whether it's dairy or, just a lot of products. You see the list of products. There are many, many products, and they're all included. So it's across the board.
Mr. President, with China, one more on trade, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, if the FBI does find something and Brett Kavanaugh falls, is there a plan B?
I don't want to talk about Plan B because I hope that he gets approved. I hope that the report comes out like it should, like I really think it should. I think it will. I hope. But look, I'm waiting just like you. Certainly, if they find something, I'm going to take that into consideration. Absolutely. I have a very open mind. The person that takes that position is going to be there for a long time. I have a very open mind. I just think he's an outstanding person. I think he has been treated horribly. Even if you were going to bring up some of the subjects that were brought up, they didn't have to treat him so viciously and so violently as they've treated him.
Can I just ask
Okay.
on trade?
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.